After clearing the story in Sonic Superstars for the first time, you will unlock Trip's story, allowing you to play through the game again as this new character. Her mode is essentially hard mode, as you replay the same levels as before, only this time there are far more BS enemies placed in some real BS areas. Plus, there's a load of these egg robos that you can not really attack a lot of the times, and they just constantly shoot at you, and sometimes they're just in the background, so you just have to avoid them, and other times they'll be at the top of ledges just waiting to snipe you and send you flying back down without any rings. And honestly, replaying the game in Trip's story mode just really sucked the fun out of it, and it became a tedious and frustrating playthrough as you're just constantly getting hurt by these cheap things that you oftentimes just can't even see coming until it's too late. Plus, the bosses in all of the zones and acts take a lot more hits than usual, and when a lot of them are already padded out with these long drawn out sections where you can't even hurt them, it just makes this second playthrough more annoying than fun, especially when it comes to beating Fang the Sniper at the very end of her adventure to unlock the Trip's Courage trophy.
That one bullshit PlayStation trophy.
This boss fight is the stuff of nightmares, and it's by far the hardest boss in the entire game, harder than even the true final boss of the whole story. The fight itself takes around 10 minutes to beat. Yep, that's right, 10 whole minutes just on this fight alone. And guess what? There are no checkpoints in this fight at all, so if you happen to lose all your rings and die at any point during the fight, you are put back right before the fight and have to do everything all over again. That includes all of the dodging, waiting and watching for your moments to actually get to attack this annoying boss. To make matters worse, Fang also has a bunch of one-hit kill moves, so even if you had 100 rings in this fight, you can still be insta-killed if these hit you. There's these pink laser beams that he will fire out at you that you can easily slam into in the first wave of the fight if you're not careful, and then in the second phase of the fight, when he transforms into the giant mech, things get even tougher as he gains more insta-kill moves like these nets that will trap you and more often result in a game over when he shoots these giant bullets at you, because one hit from these and it will send you flying into the screen, giving you an instant game over. Honestly, this fight just feels so cheap, and as it's a Sonic game, you could expect lots of BS and jankiness to it, as things often didn't seem to work how they should have during this fight, which is really annoying, trust me, especially when the fight lasts 10 minutes and you can die to a stupid glitch with the game that's just not your fault. One of the worst parts for this is near the very end of the fight when he slams his arms down onto the stage, destroying parts of the platform. This can be an insta-kill, wiping your run of over 8 minutes up to that point in an instant. And just take a look at all of these different ways I've failed this section because of the game. Each BS death here meant that I just wasted about 8 minutes of gameplay, and I had to start over each time from the very beginning of the fight, and it just became really frustrating to have to go back and redo the slightly easier phase 1 again and again and again, as it's just so dragged out. Here in this phase you have to avoid 2 sets of rockets that fly at you by just jumping over them or just running away from them, and then you attack him when he shoots out these pink laser beams. It's not too bad, but as these lasers can hit you with one hit and kill you with one hit, caution is needed, so you have to time when you run past them. The only problem is that if you're just too slow to get past these lasers, Fang will fly away before you can get a hit in, and the window of opportunity to be able to hit him before he flies away just feels so small, and honestly it made me groan every time I missed one, as it meant that I had to wait for the whole cycle to go around again before I could hit him, and it's just a lot of wasted time in a fight that already wastes a lot of your time. So the more you hit him in this phase, the more aggressive he gets, with more lasers and missiles coming out for you to dodge past. And with this dive bomb move, it's something that can also easily end your run. However, it's mainly due to what part of the stage this triggers on, as the circular floor that you run around has a load of lumpy ramps on it, and if you were to start this bit on this like slopey bit here, you might find that you're too slow to dodge his attacks. So once you've hit him enough, which is about 7 or 8 times during this phase, he then transforms into the Mecha Fang, and this is phase 2 of the fight, and it's basically where the fight starts properly, as the past 4 minutes or so you spent fighting him in phase 1 is nothing more than just a warm-up. So here the goal is to get behind him and hit him with his own projectiles. If you were to do it head on, he will block them, so you need to be moving fast to get around him in time. So the missiles and robots it poops out at you are what allows you to hit it, so you have to hit them and then they fly back into him. So you're always waiting on those attacks to come after another attack that he does that you just have to simply dodge. Yet when he does these moves, I'd often not be able to run behind Fang before the first wave of missiles had been fired and landed, or it sometimes goes a bit too far and it's more on his front than back, meaning it won't matter anyway. And sometimes when I did knock it at him, it just didn't even register as a hit, which was, even more annoying. Overall, I think this is just a rubbish boss fight that is just too long for its own good, and the one-hit insta-kill elements are more frustrating than challenging. They just don't need to be there, as it's still challenging without them killing you outright, and as a 10-minute fight where you probably only get about 2 minutes of time to actually hurt him, it ends up feeling like the battle is just padded out with a lot of fluff and boring bits where you're just aimlessly running around just waiting for him to stop doing his moves so he can do that one move where you can actually hit him. Plus those spiderweb net things that he fires out in the second phase, they can be easy to dodge, but if you're running too fast around the circular platform, you may end up looping round and will end up running into the ones that he's already fired because they just don't disappear, which I think is really annoying. And if you do get trapped by one of these nets, you're pretty much dead, because despite me mashing X every time I got into it, I would rarely get out of them in time to dodge the one-hit kill missile, so it just feels really cheap and BS, to be honest. But eventually I managed to beat it and get the trophy, but this fight took me over 1 hour to beat, and as you can imagine, I raged and swore loads when replaying it again and again, just trying to beat this boss. And honestly, after beating it that one time, I was just relieved it was over, as it meant that I never had to do this terrible fight again. The Tripped Courage trophy is likely to be a platinum blocker for some, as this fight is just unfair, it's cheap, it's way too long, and it's annoyingly rather glitchy. I mean, just look at all those times I died on that last bit. So for me, that is why the Tripped Courage trophy deserves a BS rating of